What's up, guys? Welcome to Byte Logic. I'm very excited to cover our topic today, which is the secret sauce. This logic structure, or as I like to call it, the secret sauce, will take you from beginner to intermediate with under 30 lines of code. It's very important to prove to your boss or maybe your professor or high school teacher that you can write code any user can understand. With the secret sauce, anyone will be able to use your code, and if you're peer reviewing, your coworkers will love you. This logic structure finishes off our mainline template that we use for every program, so without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Alrighty, so our template is already here, and take a quick peek at our last video if you haven't already. We highlight this template, go through it, and I show you what each of the parts does. However, if you haven't taken a peek at it and you want to follow along with this one, don't worry, all the concepts still apply. For now, I'm going to copy paste that, and I'm going to get started showing you the first ingredient. And our first ingredient will be our validation variable. So we're going to call it validation, and we're going to set it equal to 0. That's all we're going to do with that. That's the entire first ingredient. Our second ingredient is going to be our continuation variable. Again, let's just abbreviate it, and we're going to set it equal to true. Entire first and second ingredients done right there. And the third ingredient is equally as simple. We're going to make a while loop, and we're going to say while continuation is true, which is basically, this is the short way of saying that. By the way, don't worry if this doesn't make sense right now. It will in a minute. Let's move into our fourth ingredient. Fourth ingredient is an if condition. Our if condition is basically going to say if validation is greater than 0, we want to set continuation equal to input. And basically, we're saying validation is greater than 0. Okay, let's ask for input for continuation. So we're going to say, we're going to ask the user if they want to continue. Continue. And let's pop in a little parameter here so that they know what to put in. Now let's finish this off. If else, we're going to say else continuation is equal to y. Boom, that's ingredient 4. Also, pretty easy to understand. So now we're going to get into the final ingredient, and we're going to say another if condition, which is if continuation is equal to the string value y. We want to run our process. So we're going to say process 1. I don't actually have a function yet. Let's go ahead and make a function. Define process 1. And we'll just have it print a string value. So print, we'll just say process 1 string. Boom. Actually, let's add some line breaks in there as well. Always want to make it look neat and tidy. Process 1 string. Line break. Now, coming back up to finish off our fifth ingredient here, let's say else break. And what this is saying is if after all of this validation coming through right here, continuation variable is still y, then we're going to run our actual process. If it's not still y after all that validation, we're going to break out of this loop structure and move on to the rest of the code, which I'm going to assume for you is probably the end of your code if you just say, thanks for stopping by, whatever it is. However, we still have one final bit to add to our fifth ingredient, and that is our validation variable. We have to set plus equal to 1. Let me explain. Throughout this code, we have two major validations. So let me mark the first one here. We're going to call it validation 1. And then here is validation 2. Let me make that a comment. Here is where the actual validation happens. So this is our validation condition. Essentially, what we're looking at from a logic standpoint here is this is the part of the code where we want to contain all of our processes, right? That's too many enters, but this is where we want to have all of our processes so that when we go to troubleshoot, we know we can ignore everything else and just find the function with the issue, go to the function, and we can troubleshoot there. This is going to make your troubleshooting so much easier. Your professors, peer reviewers, whoever it is, they're going to love you for this. So stick with me to the end here. Let's go ahead and we'll run it right now. We'll say, press enter to continue. And again, this is just our template here. You don't have to have this. Here we see our first validation. Do they want to continue? Yes. Okay, so we run straight into the process one. Basically what happened is we had our validation in the start function. And so since we started out with our validation, our code is going to run through, see that validation right now equals 0, and it's going to say, okay, validation is not greater than 0. Do not ask for input, do the other option. So it's going to say else, continuation equals y. So now we have the green light to run our fifth ingredient, which is where we store our actual processes and logic. After we run our fifth ingredient, for the first, let me move this down a little bit here. For the first iteration of this while loop, we're going to add 1 to the current value of validation. So remember, the current value is 0. We're going to add 1 to it. So now, when we run through this loop again, validation equals 1. So we skip all of this. We go right back to the start of the loop, and it says, is validation greater than 0? Oh, now it is greater than 0. So now we ask for permission before continuing. If they enter yes, then we will continue. If they enter anything else, we will break this loop structure and move on in our code. That's kind of the genius of what this secret sauce does. It allows you the capability to rerun your code while still in your code. And that makes your life so much easier. If you, let's keep running it here. We're going to say yes, yes. And let's say while we're doing process 1, maybe we have some user input that's required. We have to input some data, and we input the data wrong. So what that will look like from a logic standpoint, if we run the code, yes, we input our data wrong, it's going to ask, do you want to do that again? Right? And we're going to say, oh, yes, we want to do that again. But if we enter everything right, we're going to say, no, we're done, and we can exit the code. That's what that does. It's going to allow you an in-code opportunity to rectify any mistakes you make before you close the code, and then you have to trash the terminal, come back, rerun your code, right? And that's annoying, especially if you're doing like data entry or something like that, and you have really complex stuff you're entering. There's plenty of opportunity for error. You want to make sure you have the secret sauce here to validate whether or not they did in fact mean what they input. Otherwise, you could end up with data anomalies or something like that. And this is really just a great safety net for all of your code to have. So let's go ahead and pretty this up really quick. Actually, let me peek at it one more time in the terminal. Let's say process 1, yep. That's not too ugly to look at. Let me add a second process in here just so I can further convey this idea. We're going to say process 2. And this one will be equally simple. Let's say we have an algorithm that's supposed to determine like data entries, and it's doing 1 plus 1 over and over again, right? We're gonna say num1 is equal to 1, num2 is equal to 5. We're gonna have it run what is num1 plus num2, and we're gonna store that in a variable. Now we want to return this variable. We'll say return var, and we'll say print process 2. Now, keep in mind, neither of these functions are part of the secret sauce. We can ignore these. All of this is the secret sauce. From line 25 to line 44, excluding these processes, that's the secret sauce, because that's what's going to validate whether your user meant what they said. This is kind of like the precursor to input validation, and I'm really hoping to get into that in the next video, but I'll keep some mystery on that for now. However, let's go ahead and run this and see what we're looking at. We'll say press enter to continue. Yes. Now it's returning our value of number 1 plus number 2, right? So we'll say yes, yes. And we did this just so that we can feign having a data algorithm or something like that. Finally, we're done. Nope, we don't want to continue. Boom, it breaks the logic, or it breaks out of the logic, I'm sorry, and then it finishes off the program. So that's about it for the secret sauce, guys. And I told you it is a really simple but very effective bit of code, under 30 lines. This is going to instantly make anybody who reads your code say, yes, this person knows what they are doing. I love working with them. It's going to take your coding game to the next level. So please implement this if you can. That wraps it up, guys. Check out last week's video if you have any questions about the template, and I will leave a basic outline of the secret sauce in the description below so that you can copy paste it into your own code, as well as right here if you want to take a picture and copy paste it that way. Always feel free to ask me in the comments below if you have any questions or if you just want to say hi. Remember, I'm a new channel, so let me know if you enjoy this content by leaving a like, and if you would like to see more of it in the future, please consider subscribing. With that, remember to take some time for yourself this week, and as always, happy coding.